Most people today may only recognize the Samson figure in the story of Samson and Delilah version. In fact, the figure of a powerful hero has been around for thousands of years ago in Islam. The figure of the Muslim legend is a prophet of God named Sayamun. The full name prophet of Shamun al-Ghazi has a miracle can soften the iron and destroyed down the palace. As the story of the prophet, when he knocked down the palatial palace with his hands, he killed many people unjustly, and Shamun was killed at that time. However, Allah revived the figure of Shamun, and he immediately repented for feeling sinful. From that time on, Shamun vowed to atone for his sin by annihilating all the falsehood and infidelity in his life, and busied himself in worshipping Allah for 1,000 months, until his hour of dying. Based on the real story in Islam, one reason is that when the Prophet told the story of the Prophet to his companions, the angel Gabriel came down with the verse 1 to 5 of Al-Qadar to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the letter, Allah describes the virtue of Laylatul Qadr, or the glorious night that can only be obtained in Ramadan. It is said that the reward of the worshipper on the night of Laylatul Qadr is better than the worship of the prophet of Shamun for 1,000 months. In writing the history of this Sayamun prophet, the writer feels still need more research to get the facts. However, as Muslims, we only need to believe the story because the prophet has told directly about the figure of this Shamun. To further strengthen that faith, in this book the author tries to explain the story of the struggle of Sayamun in delivering the message of God from time to time. The readers will be invited to explore the stories of Sayamun from the story of his birth, childhood, miracles, while developing Gaza, to be discussed also the curse of the prophet of the children of Israel. However, the privilege of this Shamun lies in its struggle in upholding the truth so that its name is glorified by God. This has been explained by Allah in the Quran Surah Yusuf, verse 111, which reads, "Verily in their stories there is a teaching, Ibra, for people who have reason." Indeed, the prophet of Shamun is an unnamed figure and his story in the Quran. However, his story has been found in the discourse of the prophet and some Islamic literature. In fact, one of the most comprehensive books on the story of the prophets, the Qashashul Anbiya by Ibn Kathir, mentions without a doubt that Shamun is indeed a prophet of God. Behind his courage, Shamun is just an ordinary man who is sometimes disappointed by his ignorant people, so he tears down his people's palace. However, Shamun knew that his most powerful enemy was also in his own home. Therefore, through his daunting struggle of dawah, he is tested not to believe anyone except to God. Through a book written with narrative flowing like water, the story of Shamun is presented with inspiration, exciting, emotion, and continue to arouse curiosity. In addition, readers will also be able to know the origin of the Laylatul Qadr night. Sayamun not mentioned in the Quran, but the story of this mighty prophet is found in the book of Qisasul al-Anbiya, the stories of the prophets. In the book, it told that when the Prophet Muhammad was gathering in the month of Ramadan with his companions, at that time he suddenly smiled to himself. Seeing this, his friends asked, "What makes you smile, O Messenger of Allah?" The Prophet then replied, "Allah showed me about the atmosphere of the last day when all humans gathered in the Mahshar field, and I saw a prophet who was walking with a sword. He walked alone to heaven without any followers. He was the prophet Sayamun. This prophet Samson has a special sword made of the jawbone of a donkey. He used the sword to fight the infidels. His extraordinary strength made the prophet Samson able to fight infidels for his people, the children of Israel, as well as against the Romans, was alone.